she carried the leftovers in a bag. And the boy shouted, "Dad, it's that lady." Emily Parker was walking down Broadway in New York City carrying a plastic bag with restaurant leftovers when she heard the shout that made her heart stop. Her hands trembled as she held the bag's handle, and she felt her legs go weak. "Dad, it's that lady," shouted the boy, pointing directly at her. She turned slowly and saw Ethan, now 8 years old, next to an elegant man in a light blue shirt whom she didn't recognize immediately. The boy was bigger, smarter, but they were the same brown eyes she had seen filled with despair 3 years ago by the lake in Central Park. "Ethan, stop that," said the man, embarrassed, pulling his son's hand. "You can't point at people like that." But the boy broke free and ran toward Emily, who instinctively took a step back. She couldn't be recognized, not like this, not in that way, carrying food scraps in a plastic bag, wearing the dirty restaurant uniform with her hair messy after 12 hours of work. "Do you remember me?" asked Ethan, stopping in front of her, his eyes shining with excitement. "You saved me at the lake. You used to sing that song for me to sleep in the hospital." Michael Thompson, Ethan's father, approached slowly, studying the woman's face. There was something familiar about her, but he couldn't connect the image of that humble worker with the anonymous heroine he had been searching for over the past 3 years. Emily felt her throat go dry. For a moment she considered lying, saying the boy was confused, that she had never seen him before. But when she looked into Ethan's eyes, all the memories came flooding back. 3 years ago, she was the head nurse at Mount Sinai Hospital, one of the most respected professionals in the city. That Sunday in March, she was finishing a 24-hour shift when she decided to walk through Central Park to get some fresh air before heading home. That's when she heard the desperate shouts coming from the lake. A boy had fallen into the water and was drowning, while the adults around him screamed, not knowing what to do. Without a second thought, Emily dove in, clothes and all, swam to Ethan, and pulled him to the shore. The boy was unconscious, not breathing. She performed CPR right there by the lake, with her clothes soaked and her heart racing. When Ethan finally started breathing again, she rushed him to the nearest hospital. He was hospitalized for 5 days with aspiration pneumonia, and Emily never left his side. She abandoned her own shifts to care for a child she didn't even know, singing lullabies for him to sleep and holding his hand during moments of high fever. But her actions had devastating consequences. The hospital did not tolerate her abandoning her duties without authorization, even if it was to save a life. She was fired for just cause, lost all her benefits, and had her professional reputation tarnished. Michael had arrived at the hospital in a panic, coming straight from a business trip in Washington, D.C. When he learned his son was out of danger, he wanted to thank the person who had saved him, but Emily had disappeared. The nurses only said that a colleague had cared for Ethan, but no one knew her full name or how to find her. "I'm sorry," said Emily, trying to move away. "I think you've mistaken me for someone else." "No!" Ethan held onto the hem of her blouse. "I know it's you. You have a tiny mark here on your face." He pointed to a small scar near Emily's left ear. "And you sang Rockabye Baby differently, changing baby to little fish, so I wouldn't be sad." Michael observed the scar his son had mentioned and felt something stir in his memory. The nurse who had cared for Ethan in the hospital. He had barely paid attention to her at the time. He was so worried about the boy's condition, but he vaguely remembered a dark-haired woman singing softly in the room next to the bed. You're really her?" asked Michael, his voice trembling. Emily looked around, noticing that some people had stopped to watch the scene. Shame burned in her chest. She, who had once been a respected professional, was now just another woman carrying leftover food to survive. "I need to go," she murmured, trying to leave. "Please don't go away again." Ethan started to cry. "I dream about you every night singing to me. Why did you disappear?" The boy's tears broke Emily's heart. She knelt in front of him, not caring that her pants touched the dirty ground of the sidewalk. "Ethan, you've grown so much," she said, her voice choked. "You're so handsome, so strong." "You saved my life," said the boy, hugging her tightly. "Daddy looked for you for a long time. He wanted to thank you." Michael felt a lump in his throat as he watched the scene. He had finally found the woman who saved his son, but she was in a condition he never imagined. The calloused hands, the simple clothes, the worn-out shoes. What had happened to her? "Ma'am, sorry, I don't know your name," said Michael. "Emily," she replied softly, still hugging Ethan. "Emily, I don't know how to thank you for what you did for my son. I looked for you everywhere. I put ads in the newspapers, hired private investigators." "You don't need to thank me." Emily stood up, wiping the tears from her face. "Anyone would have done the same." "No, they wouldn't," Michael shook his head. "Most people would just watch from a distance. You risked your own life for a stranger." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Emily tried to smile, but Michael noticed the deep sadness in her eyes. There was something more to this story, something she wasn't telling. "Do you work around here?" he asked, noticing the uniform she was wearing. "At the restaurant on the corner," she replied, pointing to a small establishment with a faded sign. "I'm a kitchen assistant." Michael was shocked. A kitchen assistant? But from the care she had given his son in the hospital, she was clearly a healthcare professional. What had happened? "Daddy, can we invite her to dinner at our house?" asked Ethan, still holding Emily's hand. I can't," Emily said quickly. "I have to take this to some people who are waiting for me." She lifted the bag with the leftovers. "For who?" asked Ethan innocently. Emily hesitated. The truth was, every day after work, she collected the leftovers the restaurant was going to throw away and took them to Mrs. Jenkins and her neighbors in the community where she lived, in the Bronx. They were elderly people, living alone, some sick, who barely had anything to eat. "For some friends," she replied simply. Michael looked at the bag for the first time. They were half-empty containers, stale bread, overripe fruit. She was carrying leftovers. His heart sank as he understood the situation. "Emily, would you allow me to accompany you?" he asked. "I would really like to talk to you." "It's not a good idea," she shook her head. "You wouldn't understand." "Try to explain it to me," Michael insisted. "Please. You saved what I hold most precious in the world. The least I can do is listen to your story." Emily looked at Ethan, who was watching her with hopeful eyes. How could she deny that child anything after what they had been through together? "All right," she sighed. "But you'll regret it." Michael called a taxi and the three of them headed to the Bronx. During the ride, Ethan wouldn't stop talking to Emily, telling her about school, his friends, his favorite cartoons. Michael watched silently, noticing how his son lit up in the presence of that woman. "Emily, can I ask you a personal question?" Michael said when the taxi entered the narrower streets of the neighborhood. "Go ahead." "You're a nurse, aren't you? From the care you gave Ethan at the hospital, it was obvious you knew about medicine." Emily was quiet for a long moment, watching the simple houses through the window. "I was," she finally replied. "I was the head nurse at Mount Sinai Hospital." Michael almost choked. Head nurse at Mount Sinai? It was one of the most prestigious positions in healthcare in New York City. What on earth was she doing working as a kitchen assistant? "What happened?" he asked gently. "I saved your son," said Emily without taking her eyes off the window. "And I lost everything because of it." The taxi stopped in front of a narrow alley. Michael looked around, seeing houses of unfinished brick, tangled electrical wires, children playing barefoot in the street. It was a world completely different from his own. "You can wait here," said Emily. "I won't be long." "No," Ethan opened the taxi door. "I want to go with you." Michael hesitated. He had never been in a neighborhood like this before, but his curiosity to understand Emily's story was greater than any discomfort. "We're going with you," he decided. Emily led them through the narrow alleys. People greeted her along the way, waving and smiling. It was clear she was well liked there. "Hi, Ashley," shouted a woman from a window. "Did you bring anything tasty today?" "I sure did, Mrs. Wilson," Emily waved back. They stopped in front of a small but well-kept house. Emily knocked on the door, and an elderly black woman with graying hair opened it with a huge smile. "Emily girl, Mrs., Jenkins hugged her tightly. "I thought you weren't coming today." "How could I leave you all without food, Mrs. Jenkins?" Emily entered the house, followed by Michael and Ethan. The house was simple but clean, with old furniture and several photographs on the wall. Michael noticed there were 3 other people in the living room: an elderly man with a cane, a woman in a wheelchair, and a middle-aged woman who looked ill. "Everyone, look who came with me today," said Emily. "This is Ethan, the boy I've told you all about." "The little boy you saved at the lake?" asked Mrs. Jenkins, her eyes lighting up. "My God, how he's grown!" Ethan greeted everyone politely, and Michael was touched by the kindness with which the people received his son. "And this is his father, Michael," Emily introduced. "Nice to meet you," said Michael, shaking Mrs. Jenkins's hand. "You seem to know my son's story well." "Son, Emily never stops talking about you," Mrs. Jenkins smiled. "She's always telling us how that boy changed her life." Michael looked at Emily, confused. What did she mean, changed her life? She was the one who saved Ethan, not the other way around. Emily opened the bag and started distributing the meal containers. Michael noticed that she gave the best portions to the elderly, keeping the smaller pieces for herself. "Mrs. Jenkins, how's your blood pressure?" asked Emily, checking the woman's pulse. "Oh, it went up a little yesterday, but it's better today." "Mr. Johnson, did you remember to take your heart medicine?" "I did, girl. You wrote it all down for me on that little piece of paper." Michael realized that Emily didn't just bring food to these people, she also took care of their health. Even though she had lost her job, she was still a nurse to those in need. "Emily," called Mrs. Jenkins, "you didn't properly introduce me to this handsome young man here. Is he your boyfriend?" Emily blushed violently. "No, Mrs. Jenkins. He's Ethan's father, that's all." "Oh, what a pity." The woman winked at Michael. "You seem like a good man, and our Emily deserves someone special after everything she's been through." "Mrs. Jenkins, please." Emily was clearly embarrassed. Michael noticed there was something more to the story. Everyone there spoke about Emily as if she had gone through great difficulties, but he still didn't understand exactly what. "May I speak with you for a moment?" Michael asked Mrs. Jenkins, indicating the kitchen. "Of course, my boy." They stepped away, leaving Emily playing with Ethan in the living room. "Mrs. Jenkins, can you tell me what happened to Emily? She said she lost everything after saving my son, but she didn't explain it properly." The woman sighed deeply. "Son, that one there is a saint. She dropped everything to save your son, lost her job, her home, her friends, and even so she never complained, never regretted it." "What do you mean she lost her home?" "Well, without the job she couldn't pay for the apartment she had in Greenwich Village. She had to sell everything and come live here with me. She slept on my couch for a whole year until she could rent that little house right there in front." Michael felt a punch in his stomach. Emily had lost her home because of what she did for his son? And why couldn't she get another job in her field? She tried, my boy, how she tried. But when the hospitals found out she was fired for just cause, none wanted to hire her. They said she was uncommitted, that she abandoned her post. Just imagine, a woman like that being called uncommitted. Mrs. Jenkins's words fell like lead on Michael's heart. Emily had sacrificed her entire career to save Ethan, and he didn't even know she existed. Did she ever try to find me to explain what happened? Emily? Mrs. Jenkins laughed sadly. That girl has terrible pride. She said she saved your son because she wanted to, not to get anything in return. Even when things got really hard, when she came here crying because she couldn't find work, she never wanted me to talk about looking for you. Michael returned to the living room with a heavy heart. Ethan was showing Emily a drawing he had made at school, and she was praising it with such affection that she really seemed like a mother. "Emily," said Michael, "we need to talk." She looked up, seeing the serious expression on his face. "You found out everything, didn't you?" She sighed. "I told you you'd regret coming with me." "I don't regret it." Michael shook his head. "But I'm shocked. Why did you never come to me to tell me what happened?" "For what?" "So you could feel sorry for me. So you could feel guilty." Emily stood up. "I did what I had to do, and that's it. The consequences were mine." "But they didn't have to be." Michael almost shouted, making everyone in the room look at him. "Sorry," he said more quietly. "Emily, you lost everything for saving my son. I have a debt with you." "You owe me nothing." Emily picked up the empty bag. "Come on, Ethan, I'll ask someone to call a taxi for you to go back." "I'm not leaving." Ethan crossed his arms. "I want to stay here with you." "Ethan, you can't stay. You have your life, your nice house, your things, but I want to stay close to you." The boy started to cry. "Why did you leave the hospital? Why did you disappear?" Emily knelt in front of him, holding his small hands. "Because sometimes we need to leave so the people we love can be okay," she explained with a sweet voice. "But I wasn't okay," Ethan sobbed. "I was sad, looking for you everywhere." Michael felt tears spring to his own eyes, seeing his son suffering. For 3 years, Ethan had constantly asked about the lady who sang in the hospital. He thought it was just a vague childhood memory, but he realized the boy had a real and deep connection with Emily. "Emily," said Michael, his voice choked. "You can't keep pretending there's no connection between the two of you. My son loves you. And I need to do something to make up for what you lost. I don't want your compensation." Emily stood up, her eyes shining with held-back tears. "I want my dignity back. I want to be able to work in my profession without people looking at me like I'm irresponsible. I want people to see that I'm a good professional, not someone who needs charity." "Then help me," Michael said impulsively. "Work with me." "Work with you?" Emily laughed bitterly. "Doing what? You don't even know what your business is." "I have a healthcare consulting firm," explained Michael. "We help hospitals improve their processes, train teams, develop protocols for patient-centered care. I could use your experience." Emily looked at him suspiciously. "You're making this up right now to help me." "I'm not." Michael took his phone out of his pocket and showed her the company website. "Thompson & Partners, Hospital Management Consulting. I founded it 2 years ago after Ethan was hospitalized. I realized how important it is to have professionals who really care about patients, not just about protocols and numbers." Emily looked at the phone screen, seeing that there really was a company with Michael's name. There were photos of him giving lectures, articles about humanization in hospitals, client testimonials. "Even if it were true," she said, "no one would hire me. My reputation is destroyed." "Your reputation is destroyed where?" Michael put his phone away. "In New York City, in the US. I work with hospitals all over the country, Emily, and I can guarantee that none of them know your story. They will only know that you have 15 years of experience as a head nurse at one of the best hospitals in the country." "You don't understand," Emily shook her head. "It's not just a matter of reputation. I've changed. I'm not the same person I was before." "What do you mean?" Emily looked around, seeing Mrs. Jenkins and the others pretending not to be paying attention to the conversation. "Let's go outside," she said. They went out into the alley, Ethan following along. "Michael, when I worked at the hospital, I was a completely different person," began Emily. "I was focused only on results, on numbers, on efficiency. Of course I cared about the patients, but in a professional, distant way." "And what changed?" "When I lost everything," she gestured around. "When I ended up here, I met real people. Mrs. Jenkins, who shared her bread with me when I had nothing. Mr. Johnson, who taught me that life is worth more than any diploma. Mrs. Wilson, who showed me that caring for people isn't a job, it's a mission." Michael listened in silence, realizing there was much more complexity to Emily's story than he had imagined. "I learned that medicine isn't about procedures and protocols," she continued. "It's about looking people in the eye and seeing their pain, their hope, their fears. It's about holding someone's hand when they need it most. It's about love." "And you think that's a bad thing?" asked Michael. "It's not bad," Emily sighed. "But the world of hospitals doesn't work that way. There you have to be productive, efficient, objective. You can't spend too much time with one patient because there are 10 others waiting. You can't get emotionally involved because you'll get sick yourself." "Emily," Michael held her shoulders gently, "you're describing exactly the problem I try to solve in the hospitals I work with. The dehumanization of medicine, the lack of time to truly care for people. She stared at him, seeing sincerity in his eyes. "Do you really think I could help?" "I know you can," Michael smiled. "Actually, you're already helping. What you do here with Mrs. Jenkins and the neighbors is exactly the kind of care hospitals need to relearn." Ethan, who had been quiet during the whole conversation, tugged on Emily's shirt. "Does that mean you're going to work with Daddy?" he asked hopefully. Emily looked at the boy, then at Michael. For the first time in 3 years, she felt a small flame of hope ignite in her chest. I need to think," she said. "Of course." Michael understood. "But while you think, how about having dinner with us tonight? Ethan won't give me any peace until he's sure you're okay." "Please," Ethan clasped his hands in supplication. "I have so much to tell you, and you can see our house, my room, my toys." Emily looked at her simple clothes, her messy hair, her calloused hands. How could she show up at these people's elegant home? "I'm not dressed properly," she murmured. "You're perfect," said Michael, and Emily realized he meant it. "You've always been perfect, Emily. The problem is that the world sometimes can't see that." The taxi took them back to the Upper East Side, where Michael lived in a spacious, elegant apartment. Ethan pulled Emily by the hand, enthusiastically showing her every room. "And this is my room," he said, opening the door to reveal a child's room full of toys, books, and drawings taped to the wall. Emily stopped in front of a tiny table where there were several sheets of paper with colorful drawings. "What are these drawings, Ethan?" "They're the drawings I make of you," he replied naturally. "Look, this one is you singing to me in the hospital. This is you saving me at the lake. And this one is you holding my hand when I was scared." Emily picked up the drawings with trembling hands. In each one she was smiling, with a yellow halo above her head and wings on her back. "Ethan, why do you draw me with wings?" "Because you're my guardian angel," the boy said simply. "Daddy said everyone has a guardian angel, and I know you're mine." The tears Emily had been holding back for so long finally fell. She knelt down and hugged Ethan tightly, crying softly. Michael watched the scene from the bedroom door, feeling his heart break and mend at the same time. His son had found his guardian angel, and he had found... What exactly had he found? During dinner, Ethan didn't stop talking to Emily. He told her about school, his friends, the places he visited with his father. Michael watched how Emily listened carefully to every word, asking questions, showing genuine interest. "Emily," Michael said when Ethan went to brush his teeth before bed, "can I ask you a personal question?" "Sure." "Do you have family? Children?" Emily was quiet for a moment, pushing the food around on her plate. "I have 3 nieces and nephews," she said finally. "My younger brother's children. He left 4 years ago, right after I lost my job. He said he was going to try his luck somewhere else and never came back." Michael felt a tightness in his chest. More sacrifices Emily had made for others. "And you take care of them by yourself?" "I do," she nodded. "Ashley is 16, Jason is 14, and Emma is 12. Ashley is a sophomore in high school. She dreams of going to medical school. Jason is crazy about soccer. He wants to be a player. And Emma is an artist. She draws, paints, writes beautiful poems." "Do they know your story, what you did for Ethan?" "They know," Emily smiled for the first time that evening. "They were proud of me even when things got tough. Ashley even said that when she graduates from medical school, she's going to specialize in saving people just like her aunt." Michael realized Emily had much bigger reasons for wanting to restart her career. It wasn't just for herself, but for 3 teenagers who depended on her and who dreamed big. "Would they like to meet Ethan?" he asked. "Why do you want to meet them?" Emily stared at him suspiciously. "Because they're important to you," Michael answered sincerely. "And because I'd like to get to know the family of the person who saved my son better." Ethan came running back from brushing his teeth, already in his pajamas. "Daddy, can Emily sleep here tonight?" he asked. "She can use the guest room." "Ethan," Emily blushed. "I can't sleep here. I have to go back home." "But why?" the boy pouted. "Are you going to disappear again?" "I'm not going to disappear." Emily held his hands. "I promise I won't disappear anymore. But I have my nieces and nephews waiting for me at home. They get worried if I don't come back. Then can you bring them here tomorrow? Ethan perked up. We can have a party. Michael laughed at his son's spontaneity. Ethan, you can't just invite people over without asking first. But I want to meet Emily's nieces and nephews, the boy said, and I want them to meet you too. We could be a big family. Emily and Michael exchanged a look, both embarrassed by the child's innocence. Ethan, Emily said gently, things don't really work like that. Everyone has their own family, their own life. But you saved my life, Ethan interrupted. Doesn't that make us family? The question hung in the air, heavy and full of meanings that neither adult knew how to answer. Michael called a rideshare to take Emily back to the Bronx. During the ride, she was quiet, lost in thought. Emily, Michael said when the car stopped in front of her house, about the job offer. You don't have to give me an answer now, but please think about it carefully. I will think about it, she promised. Thank you for dinner, for the conversation, for everything. Thank you. Michael held her hand for a moment. For saving my son. For showing me what real courage is. For teaching me that there are people like you in the world. Emily got out of the car with a racing heart. It had been a long time since someone had spoken to her like that, with so much respect and admiration. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out now continuing. When she got home, she found her 3 nieces and nephews waiting for her in the living room, anxious. Auntie, Ashley got up from the couch. You took so long. We were worried. Sorry, my dears. Emily hugged all 3. Some things happened today. What things? Asked Jason, looking up from the notebook where he was doing his math homework. Emily sat on the couch and told the whole story of meeting Ethan and Michael. Her nieces and nephew listened in silence, absorbing every detail. Auntie, said Emma when she finished, that man seems nice, and he really has a company. Yes, he does. I saw the website, the photos. Everything seems real. And are you going to take the job? Asked Ashley. I don't know, Ash. I'm afraid of being disappointed again. What do you guys think? I think you deserve a second chance, Auntie, said Ashley. You sacrificed everything for that boy, and now his father is offering you an opportunity. Maybe it's fate. Fate? Emily laughed. You've been watching too many romantic movies. It's not a movie, Auntie. It's life. Sometimes bad things happen so we can find better things in the end. Jason closed his notebook and moved closer to his aunt. Auntie, can I say something? I know you sacrifice a lot for the 3 of us. You work at that place that treats you badly. You put up with humiliation, all so we can have food and be able to study. If this man is offering you a chance to go back to doing what you love, I think you should try. Emily Parker was surprised by the maturity of her 14-year-old nephew. But what if it goes wrong? What if I lose this job too? What if it goes right? Asked Emma. What if you become famous for helping hospitals? What if you become an important person again? I never stopped being important. Emily pulled her niece closer. You all make me feel important every day. But we want the whole world to know how special you are, Aunt, said Ashley. You deserve to be recognized for what you do. The next morning, Emily woke up early as always to go to work at the restaurant. But for the first time in 3 years, she felt something different in her chest. Hope. During her shift, she couldn't stop thinking about the conversation with Michael Thompson. Was it really possible to start over? To go back to being a nurse? To work in hospitals again? Hey, Emily, shouted Barbara, the restaurant manager. Stop daydreaming and go wash those pots. Barbara was a bitter 50-year-old woman who seemed to take pleasure in humiliating the staff. From day one, she had made it clear that Emily was just another kitchen assistant desperate for a job. Sorry, Mrs. Barbara? Emily headed for the sink full of greasy pots. And another thing, Barbara approached, speaking quietly so the other employees wouldn't hear. You had a visitor here yesterday, right? That well-dressed man with a child? Yes, ma'am. Listen here, Emily. I don't know what little game you're playing, but if you think you're going to land a rich husband by bringing him here, you're very mistaken. A man like that doesn't look at a woman like you. Emily felt her face burn with anger and humiliation, but she didn't respond. She needed that job, no matter how bad it was. "And if I find out you're using my restaurant to seduce a customer," Barbara continued, "you're out of here on the spot. Understood?" "Understood," Emily murmured, scrubbing a pot harder than necessary. The rest of the day passed slowly. Emily couldn't stop thinking about Barbara's poisonous words. Was Michael really interested in helping her? Or was it just pity? Was she fooling herself thinking she could have a second chance? When her shift ended, she collected the leftovers as always and headed for the Bronx. But when she arrived at Mrs. Jenkins's house, she found a surprise. Michael and Ethan were there, chatting animatedly with the elderly residents. "Emily," Ethan ran to hug her, "I brought Dad to get to know your friends better." She looked at Michael, confused. "I'm sorry," he said, approaching. "I know I should have called first, but Ethan wouldn't leave me alone until we came here. He wanted to bring some sweets we bought for Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Johnson." "My dear," Mrs. Jenkins approached, beaming, "this friend of yours is a darling. He brought new blood pressure medicine for Mr. Johnson, some vitamins for Mrs. Wilson, and even paid for a doctor's visit for everyone." Emily was shocked. "Michael, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did," he interrupted her. "After yesterday, I spent the whole night thinking about what you told me about taking care of people. I wanted to see the work you do here up close." Mr. Johnson approached, leaning on his cane. "Miss Emily, this young man here has his heart in the right place, just like you. The two of you together are going to do good things in this world." Michael and Emily looked at each other, both blushing slightly. "Mr. Johnson," said Emily, "it's not really like that." "It's not nothing, girl," the old man laughed. "I'm 82 years old. I've seen a lot in my life, and I can tell you that you two were made for each other. You just don't know it yet." Ethan tugged on Emily's shirt sleeve. "Emily, are you having dinner with us again tonight?" he asked. "And can you bring your nephews? Dad said he wants to meet them." Emily hesitated. After the humiliation at the restaurant, she was feeling even more insecure about her place in Michael and Ethan's life. "I'm not sure that's a good idea," she murmured. "Why not?" Michael looked at her. Did something happen? Emily didn't want to talk about Barbara's cruel words, but Michael could tell something was wrong. "Emily, what happened?" "Nothing. Nothing happened." "Yes, there did," Mrs. Jenkins butted in. "I know that look of someone who's been humiliated. It was that snake Barbara, wasn't it?" "Mrs. Jenkins, please." "Who's Barbara?" asked Michael. "The manager at the restaurant where she works," explained Mrs. Jenkins, ignoring Emily's pleading looks for her to be quiet. "A bitter woman who's always humiliating Emily. Today must have been worse than usual." Michael felt a wave of anger rise in his chest. "What did she say to you, Emily?" "Michael, just forget it." "I won't forget it. What did she say?" Emily sighed, realizing she wasn't going to escape this conversation. She said I shouldn't fool myself into thinking a man like you would be interested in a woman like me, and she threatened to fire me if I kept receiving your visits at the restaurant." Michael's face turned red with anger. "She said that?" "Michael, forget it. Women like her speak from frustration. I'm used to it." "You shouldn't be used to humiliation," Michael almost shouted. "No one has the right to talk to you like that." Ethan, sensing the tension, came closer and took Emily's hand. "Why was the lady at the restaurant mean to you?" he asked innocently. Emily knelt down in front of him. "Sometimes people are mean when they're sad or scared, Ethan. It's not our fault." "But I don't want anyone to be mean to you." The boy's eyes filled with tears. "You're good, you saved me." "It's decided," Michael said suddenly. "You're not working at that place anymore." "Michael, I need to work. I have 3 nephews to support." "You'll work with me." He held her hands. "Starting tomorrow, you're my consultant in hospital humanization." Emily was speechless. Mrs. Jenkins clapped her hands, emotional. Mr. Johnson smiled, nodding in approval. I don't know what to say," murmured Emily. "Say yes," begged Ethan. "Please say yes. Then you and Dad will work together and I'll get to see you every day." Michael realized he had been impulsive, but he didn't regret it. Emily deserved an opportunity, and he needed someone with her sensitivity on the team. "Emily," he said more calmly, "I'm not offering this out of pity or obligation. I'm offering it because I genuinely believe you can make a difference in my work. Your technical knowledge combined with your experience here in the community is exactly what I need. But I don't know if I can—" Emily shook her head. "It's been 3 years since I worked in the field. Things must have changed a lot." "They haven't changed that much," Michael smiled. "And I'll be there to help you with whatever you need. We'll be a team." Mrs. Jenkins came over and hugged Emily. "Honey, accept this blessing God is placing in your life. You deserve to be happy again." Emily looked around, seeing all the expectant faces turned towards her. Ethan held her hand tightly, as if he was afraid she would disappear again. "Okay," she said finally. "I accept." Ethan shouted with joy and jumped into her arms. Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Johnson applauded. Michael smiled, feeling he had made the right decision. "But I have a few conditions," said Emily. "What are they?" "First, I want a probationary period. 3 months to prove I can do the job right." "Accepted." "Second, if at any point you think I'm not right for the job, you can fire me, no problem. I won't make a scene or ask for anything." "Emily, those are my conditions," she insisted. "Okay. Any others?" "Third and final one. I want Mrs. Jenkins, Mr. Johnson, and all the seniors here to be the first patients in our pilot project." Michael laughed. "That's not a condition. It's a gift, of course." They agreed that Emily would start the following Monday. Michael would pick her up at home to take her to the office and introduce her to the team. That night, finally, Emily took her nieces and nephew to meet Michael and Ethan. The apartment was full of life, with 5 people running around. Ashley, the oldest, had a long conversation with Michael about medicine and careers. Jason challenged Ethan to a video game match. Emma was enchanted by the books on the living room shelf. "Michael," said Ashley during dinner, "can I ask you a question?" "Sure." "Why are you helping my aunt? Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful, but why now? Why 3 years later?" Michael was surprised by the maturity of the question. "Ashley, I didn't know your aunt existed until yesterday. If I had known, I would have looked for her a long time ago. But even without knowing, why did you look so hard? Most people would have forgotten." "Because," Michael looked at Ethan, who was playing with Emma in the living room, "some gestures are too big to be forgotten. Your aunt didn't just save my son's life. She taught me what it means to sacrifice yourself for someone you don't even know." "And now?" asked Ashley. "What are your intentions with her?" "Ashley," Emily turned red. "What kind of question is that?" "It's an important question, Aunt," the girl insisted. "You've already suffered a lot. I don't want to see you get hurt again." Michael admired the protectiveness Ashley showed for her aunt. "My intentions are to give your aunt the professional opportunity she deserves," he said sincerely. "And who knows, build a solid friendship. Your aunt is a special person, and special people deserve to be surrounded by those who recognize that." Ashley studied Michael's face for a long moment, as if reading his soul. Finally, she nodded approvingly. "Okay, but if you hurt my aunt, you'll have to answer to me." "Ashley?" Emily was mortified. "Don't worry," Michael laughed. "I promise I'll take good care of her." Later, when the kids were watching a movie in the living room, Michael and Emily talked in the kitchen while washing the dishes. "Sorry about Ashley," said Emily. "She's very protective." "No need to apologize. I admire that about her, and I understand where it comes from. You 4 have been through a lot together." "We have," Emily sighed. "When my brother left, I thought I wouldn't be able to take care of 3 teenagers by myself, but they surprised me. They're more responsible than many adults. And now they'll have a successful aunt to be even prouder of." Emily smiled timidly. "Are you sure I'm doing the right thing? Am I not dreaming too big?" Michael stopped drying the plates and turned to her. "Emily, you've already proven you can do anything. You saved a child's life, raised 3 nieces and nephews alone, took care of seniors in your community without asking for anything in return. Working as a consultant will be a breeze compared to that." "Thank you," she murmured, "for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself." "Thank you," Michael held her hand over the soapy sink, "for showing me what real courage is." They stayed like that for a moment, looking into each other's eyes, until Ethan appeared in the kitchen asking for water. "Daddy, is Emily sleeping over tonight?" the boy asked. "No, Ethan. She's going home with her nieces and nephew." "But I want her to stay," Ethan pouted. "And I want her to live here with us." "Ethan," Emily knelt in front of him, "everyone has their own home, their own family, but that doesn't mean we can't see each other all the time, okay? Do you promise you'll see me all the time?" "I promise." "And do you promise you'll never disappear again?" "I promise." She kissed his forehead. "Never again." On Monday morning, Michael came to pick up Emily at 7 o'clock. She was ready, wearing a simple business outfit she had bought over the weekend, her hair pulled back in an elegant bun. "You look beautiful," said Michael when she got in the car. "Thank you," she blushed. "I'm nervous." "That's normal, but everything will be fine." The office of Thompson and Partners was in the financial district, in a modern glass building. Emily was impressed with the structure, spacious rooms, state-of-the-art equipment, a team of 15 professionals. "Everyone," Michael clapped his hands to get everyone's attention. "I want to introduce our new consultant, Emily Parker. She is a nurse with 15 years of experience and will lead our hospital humanization project." Emily was introduced to each member of the team. Everyone was polite, but she noticed some curious and questioning looks. It was understandable. She had appeared out of nowhere to take on a leadership role. "Jennifer," Michael called a blonde woman about 40 years old, "can you show Emily her office and explain how our processes work?" "Of course." Jennifer smiled, but Emily noticed the smile didn't reach her eyes. During the morning, Jennifer explained the company's protocols, the main clients, and the ongoing projects. Emily tried to absorb all the information, taking careful notes. "Emily," said Jennifer when they were alone, "can I ask how you know Michael?" "It's a long story." Emily hesitated. "Are you two close?" Emily noticed the suggestive tone of the question. "We are just colleagues," she replied firmly. "Oh, that's good," Jennifer smiled. "It's just, you know how office rumors are. People will say anything." During lunch, Michael took Emily to meet the first client where she would work, Mercy Hospital, in the southern zone of New York City. "This hospital has serious patient relationship problems," Michael explained on the way. "Lots of complaints about cold service, lack of empathy from the staff, an impersonal environment. And what do you want me to do? Observe everything, talk to patients, family members, staff, identify the critical points and suggest changes to me. You have experience from both sides, as a professional and as someone who has needed to receive medical care in the role of a patient's companion." At the hospital, Emily felt at home immediately. The characteristic smell, the sounds of the equipment, the people in lab coats running through the halls. All of it brought back good and bad memories. "Nurse Emily," Michael said to the hospital supervisor. "This is our new consultant. She will spend a few days here observing our processes." Emily spent the afternoon walking through the halls, discreetly talking to patients and family members. What she discovered left her sad but not surprised. The staff was technically competent, but the human touch was missing. The patients felt like numbers. The family members were treated like inconvenient intruders. At the end of the day, Michael met her in the hospital cafeteria, where she was writing down her observations. "So, first impression?" "Difficult," Emily sighed, "but not impossible. The problem isn't a lack of competence, it's a lack of time and incentive to connect with people." "Explain further." "The nurses have a very high patient load. They don't have time to talk, to listen, to comfort. And when they try, they get criticized by supervision for lost productivity." "And what's your suggestion?" "We need to change the culture from the top down. Show the board that humanized care doesn't decrease productivity, it increases it. Calmer patients recover faster, require less work, and complain less." Michael smiled. "Perfect. That's exactly the kind of analysis I was expecting from you." During the following weeks, Emily Parker threw herself headfirst into the work. She prepared detailed reports, created humanized care protocols, and developed training for the nursing teams. Michael watched, impressed by how she managed to connect with both the staff and the patients. Her experience of having lost everything and rebuilt her life from scratch gave her words a unique credibility. "Emily," said Jennifer one afternoon as they were preparing a presentation, "can I make a suggestion?" "Of course. You should be careful not to get too emotionally involved with the cases. It could hurt your professional objectivity." Emily looked at her, sensing the veiled criticism. "Why do you say that?" "Yesterday I saw you crying in the bathroom after talking to that elderly lady who's hospitalized with cancer." "And what's the problem?" "The problem is that consultants need to maintain emotional distance. We can't let ourselves be affected by the cases." "Jennifer," Emily set the papers down on the table, "do you think I cried because I'm weak? I didn't say that. I cried because that lady is all alone. Her children live far away, her husband has passed away, and no one visits her. And even so, she worries about not bothering the nursing staff. She apologizes for needing help to go to the bathroom." Jennifer fell silent. "I cried because I recognized a part of myself in her," Emily continued. "The part that learned not to expect anything from anyone to avoid disappointment. And you know what I found out? After I talked to her, after I held her hand and told her she mattered, she slept better for the first time in weeks." "But you can't do that for every patient." "I can't?" Emily interrupted. "Why not? Why can't medical treatment include a little human love?" Michael appeared in the doorway at that moment, having heard part of the conversation. "Everything all right here?" he asked. "Everything's great," said Emily, turning back to the papers. "We were just discussing different work philosophies." That evening, Michael invited Emily to dinner to talk about the project. They went to a small, cozy restaurant in Greenwich Village. "Jennifer complained about you today," Michael said after they had ordered their food. "I figured," Emily sighed. "She thinks I get too emotionally involved with the cases." "And do you think she's right?" Emily was quiet for a moment, thinking about her answer. "Michael, can I be honest with you?" "Always." "When I worked at Mount Sinai, I was just like Jennifer. Efficient, objective, distant. I thought empathy was a sign of professional weakness. And what changed? I lost everything," Emily smiled sadly. "And I found out what it's like to be on the other side. What it's like to be the person who needs care, attention, a kind smile." Michael listened in silence as she continued. "When I was unemployed, I had to go to the public health clinic a few times with my nephews. Do you know how we were treated? Like numbers, like an inconvenience. No one looked us in the eye. No one asked how we were feeling. And that left a mark on you." "It transformed me," Emily corrected. "It made me understand that medicine is so much more than diagnosis and treatment. It's about seeing the person behind the illness." "Emily," Michael leaned forward, "do you feel like you're being judged by the team?" "I know I am," she laughed humorlessly. "Some think I'm your protégé, others that I'm incompetent, some think I'm both. And how do you handle that?" "Just like I handled the humiliation at the restaurant, the unemployment, the criticism when I lost my previous position." Emily faced him. "By working twice as hard as everyone else to prove my worth." Michael felt a wave of admiration for that woman. Even facing prejudice and distrust, she didn't give up. "You know I completely trust your work, right?" as he said. "I know," Emily smiled. "And that means more to me than you can imagine." After dinner, Michael walked her to her car. "Emily," he said before she got in, "can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." Have you ever thought about having a family of your own? Children?" Emily was surprised by the question. "Why do you want to know?" "Curiosity. You're so good with Ethan, with your nephews and nieces. It seems natural for you." "I already have a family," she smiled. "Ashley, Jason, and Emma are the children of my heart. And now Ethan has become part of my life too. But what about a partner? Someone to share the responsibilities, the dreams?" Emily was quiet for a moment. "Michael, I've learned that I can't plan life too much. When I was head nurse, I had everything planned. Career, house, future. One afternoon, I lost everything. Now I live one day at a time, enjoying the good things that come my way. And Are we a good thing that came your way? The question hung in the air between them, loaded with meanings that neither of them was ready to explore fully. You are the best thing that has happened to me in a long time, Emily said finally. Michael smiled, feeling his heart speed up. For us too, he said. You brought a light into our lives that we didn't know was missing. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. In the following weeks, Emily's work at Mercy Hospital began to show visible results. Patient complaints dropped drastically. The nursing staff was more motivated. Even the hospital administration praised the change in atmosphere. Emily, said Dr. Anderson, the clinical director, in a meeting, I don't know what you did with our team, but the difference is remarkable. I didn't do anything special, doctor. I just reminded everyone why we chose to work in healthcare. How so? I asked every nurse, every technician, why they decided to care for people. Everyone had a beautiful story. They wanted to help, make a difference, relieve suffering. They had just lost that connection in the daily grind. Michael watched the meeting with pride. Emily had found her place in the professional world again, and she was shining. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Jennifer kept creating awkward situations, constantly questioning Emily's decisions and making sharp comments about her favoritism with Michael. Emily, Jennifer said one afternoon, I've received some complaints about your work. What kind of complaints? Emily looked up from the report she was writing. Some hospital supervisors think you're being too lenient with the staff, that you're creating unrealistic expectations about service times. Which supervisors? I'd prefer not to name names, Jennifer dodged, but it's important feedback you should consider. Emily realized she was being manipulated. No supervisor had complained. In fact, everyone was praising the results of her work. Jennifer, can I ask you a direct question? Of course. Do you have a personal problem with me? Jennifer was taken aback. Why do you ask that? Because ever since I arrived here, you only bring me negative feedback. You question my methods, my competence, my relationship with Michael. I'd like to know if I did something to offend you. Emily, you're being paranoid. I'm not, Emily stood up. I'm being direct. If you have a problem with me, let's solve it. If you don't, I'd like you to treat me with the same respect you treat the other colleagues. Jennifer turned red with anger. All right, since you want honesty, she said, closing the office door. I've worked at this company for 5 years. I built my career here brick by brick. Then you show up out of nowhere, no civil service exam, no selection process, and automatically become a senior consultant. Oh, Emily finally understood. You think I stole an opportunity from you? I don't think I'm sure, Jennifer crossed her arms. On top of that, it's obvious Michael has a personal interest in you. Everyone in the office is talking about it. Jennifer, Emily looked at her firmly, my professional competence has nothing to do with my relationship with Michael. If you want to question my work, question it based on results, not on hallway gossip. Results? Jennifer laughed sarcastically. You've been with the company for 3 weeks, and you already think you're experienced. I have 15 years of nursing experience, Emily replied calmly. 3 years taking care of an entire community practically alone. A life experience that taught me more about humanized care than any MBA. Life experience? Jennifer became agitated. You lived in a slum. You worked as a kitchen helper. The comment came out crueler and more prejudiced than Jennifer had intended. She realized from the silence that followed that she had crossed a dangerous line. Emily became very quiet for a moment, absorbing the blow. Then she smiled sadly. You're right, Jennifer. I lived in a slum. I worked as a kitchen helper. I lost everything I had built professionally. She paused. But you know what I learned during that time? I learned that a person's worth isn't in their address or their job title. It's in what they do for others when no one is watching. Jennifer realized she had been petty and cruel. Emily, You don't need to apologize. Emily picked up her papers. But you do need to decide if you want to work as a team or if you prefer to keep creating unnecessary conflicts. That night, Emily arrived home more downcast than usual. Her niece and nephews immediately noticed something was wrong. "Auntie, what's with that face?" asked Jason. "Just tired, sweetie." "It's not just tired." Ashley came closer. "Someone hurt you." Emily told them about the argument with Jennifer. The three of them were outraged. "What a rude woman," said Emma. "She has no right to talk to you like that." "Yes, she does, Emma. Freedom of speech is everyone's right, but that doesn't mean her words are true." "Auntie," said Ashley, "do you want some advice?" "I do. Don't let that woman discourage you. You fought hard to get where you are. If she's jealous of your success, that's her problem, not yours." "Ashley is right," agreed Jason. "And another thing, you don't owe anyone anything. You earned this job with your skills." Emily hugged her niece and nephews, feeling strengthened by their support. "What would I do without you?" "Lucky for you, you'll never have to find out," laughed Emma. The next day, Michael noticed Emily was quieter than usual. "Is everything okay?" he asked when they were alone in his office. "Everything's fine." "Emily, I haven't known you long, but I already know when something is bothering you." She hesitated, but decided to tell him about the conversation with Jennifer. Michael was furious. "She said you lived in a slum as if it were a bad thing?" "Michael, let it go." "I won't let it go." He stood up. "No one has the right to treat you like that. Please don't make a problem. I can handle it myself. Emily, you're in my company. It's my responsibility to make sure you are treated with respect. And if you defend me, she'll say it confirms her suspicions, that you really do treat me differently for personal reasons." Michael stopped, realizing the dilemma. "So what do you want me to do?" "Let me prove my worth on my own. When the results speak for me, no one will be able to question my competence. And if she keeps attacking you, then I'll show her that a girl from the projects knows how to defend herself." Emily smiled for the first time that day. Michael laughed, admiring that woman's strength once again. "All right, but if anything, any disrespect that crosses the line, you tell me. Agreed?" "Agreed." In the following weeks, Emily worked like never before. She arrived early, left late, took calls from hospitals even on weekends. Her reports were impeccable, her suggestions revolutionary, her results unquestionable. Jennifer watched, frustrated, as Emily earned everyone's respect in the company. The other consultants started seeking her opinion. Clients praised her work. Even the company's board publicly recognized her contribution. "Emily," Michael said in a general meeting, "your results at Mercy Hospital were so impressive that 3 other hospitals have requested your services." Applause echoed through the meeting room. Emily blushed, but smiled proudly. "Thank you," she said, "but I want to make it clear that this success isn't just mine. It's the result of teamwork from all the professionals involved." After the meeting, Jennifer approached Emily. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" she asked. They went to an empty room. "Emily, I want to apologize," said Jennifer, clearly embarrassed. "What I said about you living in the projects was totally inappropriate and prejudiced." "Thank you for acknowledging that." I was jealous," Jennifer admitted. "Jealous of your results, the way you connect with people, the respect you earned so quickly." Emily was surprised by the honesty. "Jennifer, you don't need to be jealous. There's room for all of us here." "I know, it's hard to accept that someone is naturally good at something you've struggled with for years." "You think it's natural," Emily laughed. "Jennifer, I spent 3 years cleaning pots and collecting leftover food. I cried more nights than I can count, feeling useless and incompetent. None of that was natural or easy. But you managed to turn things around." "I did," Emily nodded. "With help. Michael gave me an opportunity. My nephews gave me support. Mrs. Jenkins gave me a roof when I had nowhere to go. No one achieves anything alone." Jennifer was quiet for a moment. "Emily, do you forgive me?" "I already have," Emily smiled, "but on one condition." "What?" "Stop seeing me as competition and start seeing me as a co-worker. We're on the same team, not opposing teams." From that day on, the relationship between Emily and Jennifer improved drastically. Jennifer even started helping Emily on some projects and discovered they could form a very effective duo. 2 months after starting the job, Emily was completely established in the company. Her hospital humanization methods were being implemented in 12 hospitals in the metropolitan area, with extraordinary results. "Emily," Michael said one afternoon, "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "The American Hospital Management Association wants to invite you to give a lecture at the national conference about your humanization methods." Emily was speechless. "A lecture? At the national conference?" "It's a huge recognition, Emily. You'll be speaking to the top hospital administrators in the country." "Michael, I don't know if I can. Speaking to so many important people." "You can." He held her hands. "And you know why? Because you have a real story to tell. It's not theory, it's experience." That night, Emily told her nephews the news. Their reaction was pure euphoria. "Auntie," Ashley shouted, "you're going to be famous." "I'm not going to be famous," Emily laughed. "It's just a lecture." "Just a lecture?" Jason shook his head. "Auntie, you'll be representing all of us, the whole community, everyone who's been judged and looked down on because of where they live." "Jason is right," said Emma. "You're going to show everyone that we're worth just as much as any rich person." Emily felt her eyes fill with tears as she realized the magnitude of what was happening. She wasn't just rebuilding her own life. She was representing all the people who, like her, had been discredited and had to start over from scratch. The following week, Ethan turned 9. Michael organized a small party at home, inviting Emily and the nephews, plus a few friends from school. During the party, Ethan pulled Emily aside. "Emily, can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetie. Can you be my mum?" The question caught Emily completely off guard. "Ethan, you already have a mom." "No, I don't." The boy shook his head sadly. "My mom left when I was a baby. Daddy said she wasn't ready to be a mom." Emily felt her heart tighten. Michael had never mentioned he was a single father. "But Ethan, you have your daddy, who loves you very much." "I know, and I love him too. But I want to have a mom like my friends do, and I want it to be you." "Why me?" "Because you saved me, because you sing to me, because when you hug me I feel safe, because you're good like a mom should be." Emily hugged the boy, moved. "Ethan, I love you, as if you were my own son, and I will always be here for you. You can be sure of that." "But you don't want to be my real mom?" "Being a mom isn't just a word, sweetie. It's about caring, protecting, loving, and I already do all that for you." "So you're already my mom?" "If you want me to be, yes." Ethan smiled radiantly and hugged her tightly. "Daddy," he shouted, running to Michael. "Emily said she can be my mom." Michael almost dropped the cake he was carrying. "Ethan, what did you do?" he asked, embarrassed. I asked her if she wanted to be my mom and she said yes." Michael looked at Emily, who was red with embarrassment. "Ethan," Michael said, kneeling in front of his son, "you can't just ask people to be your family. Things don't work that way." "But why not?" The boy started to cry. "Emily loves me. I love her. You love her. She likes you. Why can't we be a family?" Ethan's innocent question created an awkward silence between the adults. Ashley, Jason, and Emma watched the scene from a distance, curious. "Ethan," Emily said gently, "families are complicated. It's not just about wanting to be one. There are a lot of other things involved." "What things?" Michael and Emily exchanged glances, not knowing how to explain the complexities of adult relationships to a 9-year-old. "Grown-up things," Michael finally said, "but that doesn't mean Emily won't continue to be special to us." Ethan seemed to accept the explanation, but Emily noticed the conversation had affected him. For the rest of the party he was quieter, thoughtful. After the guests had left, Michael and Emily talked in the kitchen while putting away the leftover cake. "Sorry about the awkwardness," said Michael. "Ethan sometimes speaks without thinking." "It wasn't awkward," Emily lied. "It was touching. Emily, I need to explain about his mother." "You don't owe me any explanation," she interrupted. "Your personal life is your own." "I want to explain," Michael insisted. "Ethan's mother was my college girlfriend. When she got pregnant, we got married hoping it would work out, but she never adapted to motherhood. When Ethan was 1 year old, she said she couldn't pretend she wanted to be a mother anymore, and left. That must have been very difficult for you both. It was for me, for Ethan. He was very little. He doesn't remember her. But as he grew up, he started asking about having a mother. I always said that someday he might have one, but that there was no need to rush. And now he's decided it's me." Emily smiled sadly. "Yeah," Michael laughed nervously, "and honestly I don't know if that's good or bad." "What do you mean?" Michael hesitated before answering. "Emily, you know I'm very fond of you. It's not just gratitude for what you did for Ethan, it's more than that." Emily felt her heart speed up. "Michael, I know it's complicated," he continued. "We're co-workers. You're rebuilding your life. I have Ethan to think about. But I can't pretend I don't feel something for you." "Michael, I feel something too," she admitted. "But you're right, it's very complicated. Why does it have to be?" "Because," Emily sighed, "I just got my professional dignity back. If we start a relationship, everyone will say I used you to get the job. And people's opinions matter more than our happiness." "It's not just that," she shook her head. "Michael, you're a successful, educated, elegant man. I'm a woman who lost everything, who lived in a slum, who worked as a kitchen helper. Our worlds are very different." "Emily," Michael held her hands, "do you really think I care about those differences? Maybe you don't care now," she pulled away. "But you might care in the future, when the passion fades and you realize I'm not from your social circle. Emily, you're being unfair to me and to yourself." "I'm being realistic." She picked up her purse. "Michael, I admire you very much. You and Ethan are the most important people in my life right now. Precisely because of that, I can't risk ruining everything because of a romantic involvement that might not work out." "What if it does work? What if it doesn't?" she countered. "What if after a few months you realize I'm not good enough for you? What if your rich friends start making jokes about your ex-slum girlfriend? What if Ethan suffers in the middle of a breakup?" Michael fell silent, realizing Emily's fears weren't unfounded. "Emily," he said finally, "can I ask just one thing?" "What?" "Don't close this door completely. Let time show what can happen between us." "Okay," she agreed. "But for now, let's keep it to just friendship and professional partnership." Agreed. In the weeks that followed, Michael and Emily maintained a cordial but careful relationship. They worked together during the day, occasionally had dinner to discuss projects, but avoided very intimate or romantic situations. Ethan, in turn, continued to treat Emily as a maternal figure, asking for advice, sharing secrets, seeking affection. It was as if he had unilaterally decided she was his mother, regardless of official labels. Emily's lecture at the national conference was an absolute success. She spoke for an hour about hospital humanization, telling her own story as an example of how healthcare professionals need to see the human being behind the patient. "I lost everything to save a life," she told an audience of 500 people. "And I don't regret it for a second, because I learned that our profession isn't about protocols or statistics. It's about people. It's about looking into the eyes of someone who is suffering and saying, 'You matter.'" The lecture was recorded and went viral on social media. Within days, Emily received dozens of invitations for lectures, consultations, and interviews. "Emily," said Michael, showing his phone, "you've become a celebrity. 15 hospitals want your services just this week." "Is that good?" she asked, still processing the response. "It's incredible," Michael smiled. "You didn't just rebuild your career. You've become a national reference." That night, Emily went to dinner with her nieces and nephews to celebrate. They were thrilled with their aunt's success. "Auntie, did you see there was an article about you in the newspaper?" said Ashley, showing her phone. "And on TV too," added Emma. "They talked about your whole story, about how you lost your job to save Ethan." "Everyone at school is so proud," said Jason. "Now everyone knows our aunt is a hero." Emily smiled, moved. After 3 years of being seen as a loser, finally her story was being told the right way. "My darlings," she said, "I want you to know that none of this would be possible without you. You gave me the strength to keep going when I wanted to give up." "You're the one who gave us everything, Auntie," said Ashley. "A home, food, education, love. We should be the ones thanking you." And now you'll be able to give us even more, joked Jason. With that new salary. Everyone laughed. It was true. With the success of the lecture, Michael had proposed a substantial raise for Emily, plus a share in the company's profits. "You know what I want to do most with this money," said Emily. "What?" the three asked in unison. "Buy a house for the four of us, a house with a backyard, with separate bedrooms for each, with a big kitchen where we can have friends over." "Really?" Ashley's eyes widened. "Really?" Emily smiled. "And more. I want to set up a small practice in the community, to take care of Mrs. Jenkins, Mr. Johnson, and all the other seniors for free." "Auntie," Emma hugged her, "you are the most amazing person in the world." A few days later, Michael invited Emily to lunch. He had something important to discuss. "Emily," he said when they were seated at the restaurant, "I received a proposal I want to discuss with you." "What kind of proposal?" "A hospital network in Illinois wants to implement your methods in all their units. It would be a 2-year contract, very well paid." "That's great!" Emily got excited. "When do we start?" "That's the thing," Michael hesitated. "They want you to live in Chicago for the duration of the contract." Emily's smile vanished. "Live in Chicago? It would only be for 2 years, and you could come back to New York City on weekends." "Michael," Emily interrupted him, "I can't move to Chicago. I have my nieces and nephews, Mrs. Jenkins, my life here. I know it's difficult, but think of the opportunity. It would be a huge leap in your career." "And Ethan?" she asked. "How would he react if I left?" Michael was silent. That was exactly the question he had been avoiding asking himself. Ethan would understand it's for your work." "Michael, look me in the eye and tell me if you really believe that." He couldn't. They both knew Ethan would be devastated if Emily left. "Emily," Michael finally said, "what if I went with you?" "What do you mean?" "What if we expanded the company to Illinois? I could open a branch there. Ethan could go to school in Chicago. It would be a fresh start for all of us." Emily was surprised by the proposal. "Michael, would you leave New York City for me?" "It wouldn't be for you," he held her hand on the table. "It would be for us, for our family." "Our family? Emily, stop pretending we're not a family. You, me, Ethan, your nieces and nephews. We care about each other. We look after each other. We support each other. That's family." Emily felt her eyes fill with tears. "Michael." "I love you, Emily," he said simply. "And Ethan loves you, and I know you love us too. Why can't we just accept that and build something together?" "Because I'm scared," she admitted. "Scared of what?" "That one day you'll wake up and realize you could have something better, a more elegant, more refined woman, more suited to your social status." "Emily," Michael squeezed her hand, "have you ever stopped to think that maybe I don't want something better? That maybe you are exactly what I need in my life? How can you be so sure? The same way you were sure you had to jump into that lake to save Ethan. Sometimes we just know it's the right thing to do." Emily looked into Michael's eyes and saw sincerity, love, determination. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine what a life by his side would be like. "What if we try?" she asked timidly. "What do you mean?" "What if we make this relationship official? See how it works?" Michael smiled, feeling his heart race. "Are you serious?" "I am." Emily smiled too, but with a few conditions. "What are they?" "First, no rushing. We'll take it slow, seeing how things develop." "I accept." "Second, Ethan only finds out when we're sure it's going to work. I don't want to create expectations for him that might not be met." "I accept." "Third, if it doesn't work out, we end it as friends and continue working together normally. No drama, no hard feelings." "I accept." Michael laughed. "Any other conditions?" "Last one. You give me time to talk to my nieces and nephew. They have the right to know that our family might change." "Emily," Michael leaned forward, "can I seal this deal with a kiss?" She blushed but nodded. Michael stood up, walked around the table, and kissed Emily delicately. It was a soft kiss, full of promises and hopes. "Michael," she said when they parted, "thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for finally accepting that you deserve to be loved." That night, Emily told her nieces and nephew about the relationship with Michael. The reaction was pure joy. "Aunt," Ashley shouted, "finally! We were starting to think you'd never admit it." "It was so obvious that you liked each other," said Jason. "Even Ethan noticed." "And now," asked Emma, "are you getting married? Is Ethan going to be our cousin?" "Easy, Emma," Emily laughed. "We're taking it slow. First, we'll see how dating works." "But you're practically family already," said Ashley. "You see each other every day, have dinner together, take care of each other." "It's true," Emily agreed. "Maybe Ethan is right. Maybe we've been a family for longer than we thought." A few months later, the relationship between Michael and Emily was solid and mature. They had found a perfect balance between their professional and personal lives. At work, they maintained total professionalism. At home, they were a loving couple building a family. Ethan was radiant. He finally had the mom he so wanted, and she came with the bonus of 3 older siblings who adored him. Ashley had been accepted into medical school, fulfilling her dream of following in her aunt's footsteps. Jason was playing for a major club's youth team, showing real talent for soccer. Emma had won a national drawing contest and was being considered for an arts scholarship. The move to Chicago happened naturally. Michael opened a company branch in Illinois, and the whole family moved together to a spacious apartment in the state capital. "Aunt," Ashley said one afternoon as they were organizing the new house, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course." "Do you think your life would have been different if you hadn't saved Ethan that day?" Emily stopped arranging the books and thought about the question. "Of course it would have been different," she replied. "I'd probably still be working at Mount Sinai Hospital, making good money, living in my apartment in Greenwich Village. Do you regret it?" "Never," Emily smiled. "Ashley, if I hadn't saved Ethan, I would never have really gotten to know you all. I would never have learned what unconditional love is. I would never have discovered my true calling. I would never have found my family. Even though you lost everything?" "I didn't lose everything," Emily corrected her. "I lost some material things and gained everything that really matters. I gained you all, I gained Michael, I gained Ethan, I gained Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Johnson. I gained a purpose in life." Ethan came running into the living room. "Emily, Michael, come see." "Come." They went to the balcony where Ethan was pointing at the sky. "Look at that cloud," said the boy. "It looks like an angel." Everyone looked up, seeing a white cloud indeed, shaped like an angel with open wings. "It's our family's angel," Ethan said with certainty. "It's protecting us." Michael put his arm around Emily, pulling her close. "You know what I think?" he said. "What?" "I think our family's angel is right here." He looked at Emily. "Disguised as a brave woman who carried leftovers in a bag and saved my life too." "Michael," Emily blushed. "It's true, Aunt," said Emma, who had approached. "You saved all of us. You all saved me." Emily shook her head. "You saved me from loneliness, from despair, from the feeling that I was worthless. Then we saved each other," said Ethan, hugging her waist. "Yeah." Emily smiled, looking at her family gathered on the balcony. "We saved each other." 2 years later, Michael proposed to Emily during one of her lectures at a nursing conference. He went up on stage at the end of her presentation with a bouquet of flowers and a ring in front of more than 1,000 people. "Emily Parker," he said into the microphone, "you saved my son, changed my life, and taught me what true love is. Will you marry me?" The entire audience stood up applauding when she said yes, crying with emotion. The wedding was simple but moving, held in Central Park, very close to the lake where it all began. Ethan was the ring bearer. Ashley, Jason, and Emma were the attendants. Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Johnson traveled specially from New York City for the ceremony. "My daughter," Mrs. Jenkins said to Emily before the ceremony, "do you remember what I said about you and Michael being made for each other?" "I remember, Mrs. Jenkins. I was right. You two together make the world a better place. Thank you for never letting me give up. Thank you for showing me that angels do exist." The lady kissed her forehead. "And sometimes they show up carrying leftovers in a bag." During the ceremony, the judge who married them mentioned the story of how they met. "Michael and Emily," he said, "you are living proof that there are no coincidences, only meetings that were meant to happen. Emily, you saved Ethan from the water. Michael, you saved Emily from being forgotten. You saved each other." After the ceremony, while posing for photos, Ethan tugged on Emily's blouse. "Are you my real mum now?" he asked. "I've always been your mum, Ethan, since that day at the hospital when I sang you to sleep." "And are we going to be happy forever?" Emily looked around, seeing Michael talking animatedly with Ashley about her plans for medical residency, Jason showing the guests the medal he had won at the youth championship, Emma drawing the newlyweds on a piece of paper, Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Johnson dancing slowly to a ballad. "You know, Ethan," she said, "I think we already are happy. We have been for a while. Even when things got tough?" "Especially when things got tough," Emily smiled. "Because it was through difficulties that we learned the value of having a family that truly loves each other." End of story. And you, dear listener, what did you think of Emily's journey? How do you think you would react if you were in her place, having to choose between saving a life and maintaining your career? Is true courage found in the small daily actions or in the grand gestures that change everything? Leave your opinion in the comments. How about clicking like and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss other emotional stories like this one?